Producer of CBS News 60 Minutes, Bill Owens, resigned today. Now, normally that would probably not be news that we would bring you, except the circumstances rise to the level of, well, alarm. Owens said in a letter to his staff that, quote, over the past months it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it, to make independent decisions based on what was right for 60 Minutes, right for the audience, unquote. And the context here is key, because President Trump has been suing CBS News and its parent company, Paramount Global, for $20 billion for what the president calls, quote, unlawful and illegal behavior, unquote, though his accusations, according to legal experts, do not withstand scrutiny. This is what happened. Last fall, 60 Minutes interviewed Vice President Harris. President Trump declined the show's offer to sit down with them for an interview. During the Harris interview, 60 Minutes correspondent Bill Whitaker asked the then sitting vice president why Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was not apparently listening to the Biden administration. Now, a preview of her answer ran in a preview clip on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday morning.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
The next day, however, 60 Minutes ran this answer when it ran the actual edited interview.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Now, CBS News explained the discrepancy, saying that they merely ran two different parts from the same longer answer, and under pressure they revealed their transcript, and that is indeed what they did, as frankly happens all the time, including with President Trump's taped interviews. For instance, just for instance, in June of 2024, this ran on Fox.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Definitive, firm, yes, I would. But, as Semaphore noted at the time, the full unedited version featured Trump sounding far less definitive.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
The president alleges that editing the 60 Minutes interview and running two different answers to the same question helped Vice President Harris and amounted to electoral fraud. In reality, this is just editorial discretion. Editors do it all the time with recorded interviews, including all the time with taped interviews and Donald Trump by Fox. All the time. And legal experts, left, right, and center, say that this lawsuit in a court would certainly fail spectacularly. But Paramount Global, which owns CBS News, is currently trying to merge with Skydance Media. And in order to do so, they need the approval of the Trump administration, specifically the FCC. And under the FCC's brand new Trump-supporting commissioner, Brendan Carr, it has been suggested that Trump's news distortion allegations against 60 Minutes will be considered by the FCC before any merger is approved. Now, Sherry Redstone is the majority owner of Paramount, and she stands to make a fortune if this multi-billion-dollar deal, this merger, goes through. And it seems as if Sherry Redstone is likely to bend the knee to Trump and settle this allegedly frivolous lawsuit. Now, Bill Owens, until today the head of 60 Minutes, rightly believes that 60 Minutes has nothing to apologize for. And that's what's going on. That's the context. One 60 Minutes source tells me, quote, the lawsuit was baseless. He wouldn't apologize, meaning Bill. Bill Owens wouldn't bend. He fought for the broadcast and for independent journalism, and that cost him his job. It's shameful, unquote. A second 60 Minutes source tells me, quote, Bill has widespread support at 60. He's dedicated his life to CBS and the broadcast. And this was his last act of dedication to it. It's like a guy who has been battling for months against an attack, unable to defend the broadcast from inappropriate corporate influence, he pulls the pin from his last grenade. He sacrificed himself, hoping it might make our corporate overlords wake up and realize they risk destroying what makes 60 Minutes great. It seems clear now, in a quest to sell the company, Sherry Redstone and others will bow to presidential pressure. 60 Minutes is one of the crown jewels of American broadcast journalism, and they have no problem crushing it in their race to make a deal and make themselves richer, unquote. Sherry Redstone had no comment when we reached out. President Trump, of course, has been trying to kneecap anyone providing oversight over his administration. He literally started his administration by firing a whole bunch of inspectors general. He is currently ignoring judges and courts. He and his MAGA forces intimidate the legislative branch from uttering even a peep of criticism. They're going after law firms. They're going after universities. And this war against the Fourth Estate journalists is of this piece. Owens is not without his critics, of course, but this is not about one man or even about one show. It's about an attempt to be rid of criticism. The Pentagon has taken the offices of CNN and NBC and the New York Times and Politico and reassigned them to outlets that provide more flattering coverage, like Breitbart. The White House is doing the same with wire services, its war against the Associated Press, and bringing in folks like this one from last Friday.
Photos have emerged of Senator Van Hollen sipping what appears to be margaritas with Abrego Garcia down in El Salvador. Do you encourage other Democrats to fly down to El Salvador to meet with this illegal alien who's an accused wife beater?
I like this guy. See, now this is the kind of a reporter we like. There aren't enough of them.
That person, of course, that was asking that question was asking about a lie. Senator Chris Van Hollen says that those margaritas were never touched. They were set up on the table by somebody working for the president of El Salvador to make a joke of this senator's meeting. Those margarita glasses were propaganda, and that's what that person asked about. And of course, that's the kind of reporter that the president likes, because that question was not the question of a reporter. And that is the context of Sherry Redstone's likely bending of the knee. Hope the money's worth it, Sherry.
Joining us now for more perspective is Brian Steinberg, senior TV editor for Variety. You have done some excellent reporting on what is happening over at 60 Minutes. And I'm curious what you make of some of the reporting you talked about, where Bill Owens said that he would not be allowed to run the show as he has always run it, or make independent decisions based on what was right for 60 Minutes. He is not mincing words.
No, the show's had a long tradition. It's been on the air for, almost 6 decades of being an island at CBS News. CBS News ran one way. 60 Minutes was governed by the executive producer of 60 Minutes. I think in recent weeks and months, with parent company Paramount being under so much pressure from a Trump lawsuit, an FCC inquiry, and its efforts to be sold to Skydance Media, executives have had, less patience for independent action right now, I guess.
You have reported on how this has had the ripple effect and what's happening inside 60 Minutes. What are you learning from those who have been correspondents and members of 60 Minutes for decades? One of the best shows on television, one of the highest rated shows, news shows on television.
That is correct. Look, I spoke to Leslie Stahl yesterday in a story that would be posted on Variety. She spoke to us on the record directly about her concerns about the show and where it's going. She's devastated by Bill Owens' decision to exit. She hopes that his exit will serve as some sort of warning to Paramount and CBS about the value of the program. This is arguably one of the jewels of journalism, American journalism. It's won many different kinds of awards. It has opened investigations, and it is seen as A-list property. And I think staffers internally are concerned that too much meddling may undermine the show.
I mean, look, Trump did hit them, CBS News and its parent company, Paramount Global, with a $10 billion lawsuit over that 60 Minutes interview that most of the country saw with former Vice President Kamala Harris, claiming that it was misedited by CBS. Do you have a sense of sort of where that stands and how much that's playing into all of this?
Well, as it says, they've hired a mediator. The two sides have not been able to come to any kind of terms in court. CBS has tried to have it thrown out of court. It's been filed down in Texas, and they're trying to maybe change venues or have it thrown out. That hasn't budged the matter so far. So I do think that there's kind of a clash of wills going on. At the same time, Paramount as a corporation, like most media companies, is under more pressure than ever in the streaming era. Economics are not as easy as they once were. I think they've been eager to get this deal done with Skydance, who has pledged to buy them, and Shari Redstone, who's got personal fortune at stake, may have different pressures on her than the people at 60 Minutes do.
Yeah, and look, 60 Minutes is still seen as the standard bearer, the big J journalism that people really enjoy on Sundays. Brian Steinberg, thank you so much. Thank you for your great reporting and for coming on the show this morning.